One day, Maverick got a weird, like a MRSA kind of thing. And he was under a year old, and Rick was convinced he brought it home, like from work. And he said to me that was the only time he thought of leaving the job. Hello, I'm Kristen. I am a police wife. I've been for 9 years. We're from Los Angeles, and I'm so excited today to just have a Q&A and answer a few questions that you had for me. I am so blessed to have this police wife community. I started it on Instagram, and now I have a blog and started posting every Monday here on YouTube. Thank you so much. Please comment any other questions you have below, and I will do another Q&A after I have a few to talk about. So first question that I got is related to my last video, and it is about having children. And someone asked me, are we going to have any more children? So we have 2 boys. They're ages 5 and 7, and that is all. Our family is complete. As far as we know, right? Unless something crazy happens, but for now we are done. Actually, Rick was really happy with 1 boy. He loves Leonidas now, but he just really wanted a boy. And then we had our first kid. He was a boy. He also really wanted to name him Maverick, and he got to name him Maverick, and he was just happy with that, you know. We don't have like a ton of family around, so I think that impacts our decision. Like locally right here, it'll really help us all the time with childcare and stuff like that. And I would feel like I would need more family around to help if we had any more kids. Plus we both work, and I just feel like I'm only one person that can only be like so many places at once. And so I feel really good about 2 kids, but I will tell you like how we decided to go from 1 to 2, since I'm telling you that Rick really was happy with 1. So we took a vacation to see my mom outside of Las Vegas. She used to live out there. And I think we visited Rick's mom's too that time, but went out to my mom's like towards the end, and we were driving home, and we had a really fun trip. Like it was just so much fun to like see family, and we had Maverick with us. It was like kind of his first trip with us out there. And I was telling Rick, like, so I've been thinking, I think Maverick was like maybe a year old at that time. And I was like, you know, I think I just stopped breastfeeding, like around that time is when I stopped. I made it to like a year with both boys. It was like my goal to do that. And I said, you know, I think it'd be really nice to have another, for like Maverick to have a sibling. And I also, as like a night shift or like swing shift wife, Rick was gone like 3 or 4 nights a week, right? In the evening and nighttime. So it'd be like just me and Maverick like having dinner together. And we started this routine in our family where we really liked to sit at the table together as a family and eat together. And so I would still do that when it was just me and Maverick. But you know, he's a toddler. Maverick waited a while to talk, so he wasn't really talking. So it was just like me and him like staring at each other and eating, right? Like 3 or 4 nights a week. And I just felt like on the days that Rick wasn't there, or even the days he was there, like I just felt it in my heart like that we should have another baby, like and another person in this family. And so I tell him that, knowing like it will stress him out. And then like he says, I knew this was coming. And he's like, I'm prepared. Like I knew this was coming. So even though it wasn't like in his heart that he really desired another kid, because he's really like financially a saver, and I think he wants to do everything we can for our kids, and like you only have so much money, so he doesn't want to feel like we can't give them the world, you know what I mean? So to have 1 more kid and 1 more kid each, it's like stresses him out. I think it really is about that like providing piece. So I also asked him, because I've spoke before in previous videos about self-care and how like daycare for me was self-care, to have daycare 3 days a week at least for my boys, so that I could do it on my teaching days and really have a better balance in our lives. And we learned that daycare really helped with Maverick. So it must have been a little bit after a year that we had this talk, because we just started Maverick around 1 year at daycare. And I saw like what a difference that made for us. I was like, can we afford daycare for our second baby if we have one? And Rick was like, yeah, I think we can make it work. The daycare like stressed us out, because then our daycare provider, who I loved, like wasn't quite like had a spot available for Leonidas right away. And I was like, but it all worked out in the end. But So then we decided that we were gonna have a second, and we wanted them, if possible, you know, if it all worked out, to be like closer in age, because we are both 4 and 6 years different than our siblings and like not that close with them. And so we're like, just, we know you can't make it, you cannot make people friends, but I think being closer in age and like experiencing things closer can be a little bit easier on like developing a friendship. So we decided to start trying pretty soon. And my last video, I talked about trying to conceive. So if you are struggling with that, definitely check that video out if you missed it, on like shift work and schedules and like how we dealt with that. And so hopefully that helps you. So we are complete. We had neonitis, and I only had 2 kids in my family, and I was happy. I'm very happy with both of our boys. They are so perfect to me. Yes, sometimes they drive me crazy, but I love them so, so much. And so I wouldn't have it any other way, and I just feel blessed that they're both like healthy and beautiful. And so we are done. So the next question is, are we staying in California? I think it's like forever, or like, do we have any plans to move? And this is a really good question, actually, because it has been a crazy couple of years here in the US and everywhere, I think, around the world because of COVID, but also here in California, a super, super liberal state. I also work at a very liberal university. We live in a quite liberal community that had a ton of BLM signs up, and there's still talk of BLM stuff and like anti-racism and all of that. And there's a lot of trash talking about police, like even at my work and even like in the community. So it's a lot to deal with, like the politics and everything around that. But we have found little crevices of spaces that are safe for us. Like our kids go to a school where it's like really cop friendly, Christian, just super supportive of being a good person and being kind to each other. And it's like been such a blessing for Maverick to have started kindergarten there, and Leonidas started this year. And we have some neighbors that are awesome. We have like an EMT neighbor who's so awesome. His family, just love them. They have kids similar ages to ours. We have lots of other cops in the community. I wouldn't say lots. We have like enough to kind of trickle in there and make us feel less alone. And so that has really been a blessing that has impacted like our decision to stay. Rick he's been on the department 16 years, so he could potentially retire at 2025, like we'll see, with some good benefits, maybe not amazing, but decent. And then I work for the state. Okay, so I've only worked for the state 7 years, but it's still a decent time. And I actually love my job, like love it. And so it's kind of tough because there's things that we love about the state, and we do love the geography. It's kind of a weird thing to say, but love that we can like, I love the beach. We can go to the beach. It's like 15 minutes away from our house. Crazy, like so spoiled on that. And then we love the mountains, and during COVID got a cabin in Shaver Lake, and it's been so fun to go up there and have like different adventures with our family and our boys, and like different landscape. And you could actually like technically go surfing and snowboarding on the same day. Not that I really do those like on a regular basis, but just throwing it out there, like that's pretty awesome, right? So we love California, like geography, and that past year we've been exploring like Central California. We love Big Sur and Monterey and Carmel, and like Rick would love to retire there someday. So we do not have plans to leave, but I will say we have joked about it. Sometimes we have looked, because we do love like real estate stuff. We love looking at stuff, and so I call us little like micro investors in real estate, because we have a cabin now in Shaver Lake, and then we have a condo in Vegas that Rick had before we were married for a long time, like close to when we met a long time ago. He got it. And so we like to just look. So we've looked at Texas, which there's a lot of Californians that have moved there, and it's probably not for us right now. Plus my mom moved here close to us around right before March 2020. And so we have to worry about that now too. Like she has a really happy life here, and I don't want to like move her, you know? So I think there's a lot of things. And then Rick's mom lives in Vegas, and so it's pretty close, not like right here. But yeah, so for now, we're staying here in California, and for the foreseeable future. Okay, This last question is a good one. So have I ever considered leaving Rick because of his job? I thought really hard about this. Like, I got this question about a week ago, and no, I mean, I would say I have not considered leaving Rick. Like, we don't even like to use this word, divorce. We do not like to use that word, even when we argue or something like that. We don't have that many arguments anymore, I would say. We argued more like those first few years of marriage, like when you're negotiating a lot. So if you're in like the dating phase or the early marriage, there's a lot of negotiations that happen unless you already have worked that stuff out, or you just happen to just mesh well in every single way. But there was a lot of negotiation, and like, so there was arguments then, but we really don't argue that much anymore. There was one time where I got mad at Rick because like we were just super newlyweds, I think, and I did go to my car. Like, I left the house, like our apartment together, and I was like, I need to chill out, and I went to the car. But then I like came back. So I didn't think of leaving him, but I needed a little space. I think physical space is okay, and to like clear your head and have a moment to process. Like, I'm somebody that needs to process things and think about things. And then there's other times when we've argued where like I'll get up and I'll go shower. You know, like, okay, if it's arguing after the kids go to bed or discussing something tense, then I'll go take a shower, and then I have a moment to think. You know, I think sometimes you're like lost in the argument, and it's good to step away. But we went into this marriage being like, this is forever. And we knew each other and dated on and off 10 years before marriage. It's like we knew what we were getting ourselves into, and like we actively chose this life. So I feel like that really helped us to have that mentality that if we are at that space where like we're stuck on something, we're super frustrated, we're gonna see a therapist, you know? I think there have been a moment where I like brought that up in like a really rough time. But we never did see one. Like, we just worked through it ourselves, and we're at a really good, strong place. And I feel like, sure, we're like not perfect and things happen, but I do think after a while, like, we've been married a long time. It's not forever, but it's like almost 10 years. And I feel like you kind of learn the person and their needs and wants, and like you kind of over time, you kind of like bend towards each other, and like those negotiations are already done, and people do change and they want new things over time, but you like know how to talk to each other in a way that's not going to piss them off. You probably know how to push their buttons too, but yeah, I do feel like it gets smoother. So if you're in the early stages and you're struggling and you are thinking that yourself, like the job is super frustrating, I would ask yourself, like, because you're married to this person not because of their job, right? You're married to them, so they could go work another job, and some of those issues would still be there. So I think you need to like remember that person that you loved and why you're with them. And no matter what job they're at, they're gonna maybe have to travel or be away from you, or there's gonna be overtime, or there's gonna be things that are gonna happen, and you're still gonna have to work it out then. So I think the job is unique, for sure. I wouldn't deny that, but it's never been like, there hasn't been something specific about the job that's the reason, like, oh, Rick and I've never thought of leaving him. So there is that. But yeah, so I really thought, I was like, was there a moment? I will tell you this kind of funny story. So Rick, one day, Maverick got a weird, like a MRSA kind of thing. And he was under a year old, and Rick was convinced he brought it home, like from work. And he said to me that was the only time he thought of leaving the job, you know, to make sure we were okay as a family. And then I'm sure during COVID, during the BLM heightened craziness of it all, Rick didn't say the same thing out loud, but there's been discussions of it, because he does not want to end up in jail or prison or die, right? Like, he doesn't want to do all, like, no, he wants to make sure he can be here with our family. And so there's been discussions around that too, because of all of that, and just them not feeling like supported anymore. So yeah, so more so Rick thinking of leaving. He's never really like done anything to make that happen, and I think he still is a street cop at heart, and he loves what he does, but it's like the harder that they make it for them to not be able to do their jobs, and punishing them sometimes for doing their jobs has made it really hard for him. So I would say more so him like thinking that so that he can be here for our family than me ever thinking that, if that makes sense. So I hope this was helpful and you enjoyed this Q&A. I'm happy to do more. Thank you so much for your questions. And if you're enjoying these videos, definitely check out, I have a Police Wife devotional linked below, a brand new Police Wife coaching program that's open to girlfriends or other first responder wives and girlfriends as well. And I hope that you enjoy those. I'll see you in my next video. Have a great day.